Welcome to the 42nd Writers Workshop. My name is Casey McAlpin, and I'm the moderator of our conference today. I'm also the executive director of US Inc. It's the educational foundation that hosts this conference and that was founded by John Tanton, and we've been doing this for many years now, and we're delighted to have you with us, whether you're new or whether you are a returning attendee. There are many people in our audience today who will remember one of the truly remarkable people who donated so much of his time, talent, energy, and wonderful humor to the immigration reform movement for 20 years until he died prematurely of cancer in 2010. I'm speaking, of course, of the famous self-described prisoner of South Central LA, the late great Terry Anderson, who was a wonderful friend and who hosted a weekly talk radio show on KRLA 870 AM in Los Angeles that grew to become one of the most popular weekend radio shows in the country before he passed away. Well, I'm really happy to tell you that now, 8 years later, Terry's torch has been picked up and carried on by another native Angelino, or I guess I should say Angelina. Kathleen Wells is the host of the Naked Truth Report, a talk radio show which airs at the same time slot on Sunday evenings on KRLA 870 AM that Terry's did. And she explains there on her show week after week how mass immigration is one of several policies that is destroying Black America. Kathleen is here to tell you a little bit about that show and the success she's been having and all the fun she's been having. So Kathleen, would you come up here and share a few comments with us about that?
I mean, first I want to thank Casey for inviting me to this writer's workshop. Last year was the first year that I attended, and the Naked Truth Report, the radio show on AM 870, The Answer, that was the first month that I was on the air with that show. I used to be a Democrat. I used to be with KCAA, which is in the Inland Empire, which is a liberal. You know, I was a liberal then. Well, I saw, you know, I had a conversion when Dr. Claude Anderson told me about the data, the numbers that were regarding immigration that were adversely impacting Black America. So once I started digging into the numbers and seeing digging into the data and seeing the numbers of how Black America is adversely impacted by immigration, high immigration. In fact, they talked about that in the 1800s. Frederick Douglass, W. Du Bois, who else? Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey. They wrote about how high immigration adversely impacts Black America in the 1800s. In fact, Frank Morris, I don't see him here, but Frank Morris wrote about that in the Center for Immigration Studies. But before I want to say some more things. I can go on and on. I know, but I want to thank the folks who have been guests on the Naked Truth Report. We're the #1 show now. Can you believe it? Our numbers have tripled. Yes. You know, the station is so supportive because our numbers have tripled, okay, from what Terry Anderson had. So the station is so pleased, and in fact, this is the, I have a couple of copies of this. This is the magazine, and this was the ad that I took out, how the Democrat, and I have a few copies if you like, how the Democratic Party has destroyed Black America. That's their full-page ad. I have a few copies if you'd like that. This was at our town hall, which was last week. And they said in the town hall, oh my gosh, more Black Americans came to this town hall than ever before. So, you know, I sort of take credit for that, but maybe not necessarily, right? You guys helped to make the show #1. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you, and we're just moving and growing. And this is the last thing I want to mention. Is my time?
Just the last thing, yeah.
This is the last thing. I could go on and on. This is the last thing I want to mention is that we had a panel discussion where we had a discussion after the pre-screening of the Dinesh D'Souza film Death of the Nation. One of the listeners, I call my listeners truth warriors, one of the listeners came to me and asked me if I would sponsor a panel discussion after the pre-screening of the Dinesh D'Souza film Death of a Nation. And so in this panel discussion, we had 4 Black American men, and one is here, Adrian Norman, and it was so impactful. I mean, the audience was so moved by this, and in fact, you can Google Black Republicans, Death of a Nation film, and it will come up on Google, and you can see some of those. It will come up on YouTube, and you'll see some of those comments. It was so impactful. People were so moved by it, because I think Black America really makes the difference here, because we have sustained the Democratic Party, and we need to get in the game and talk about, or as R.W. Bray, we need to get engaged. Let's get engaged, because we've been with the liberals for 5 decades, and liberal ideology has failed Black America. It has failed all of America. So I'm done, right? Yeah. Okay. I could go on. Thank you.